All right, thank everybody for joining us on another episode of Drop the Tailgate. This is a continuation of a series that we're focusing on wildlife management areas in Region 2. And today we're on Old Hickory Wildlife Management Area, and I've got Michael Boble with me. Michael has been managing this area for 5 years?
Going on 5 years.
Going on 5 years. So the first thing I think I want to talk about is location. Where is this WMA?
It covers about 5 counties through Middle Tennessee, Davidson, Wilson, Sumner, Trousdale, on up into Smith County.
Mm-hmm.
WMA is broken down into 3 units, units 1, 2, and 3. I guess the more popular unit is units 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. This is a 6,000 acre area, but it's not all accessible by walking in. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. The majority of it's accessible by boat only. It's pretty much the Cumberland River floodplain that it's the Corps of Engineers floodplain marker. That's pretty much all of Old Hickory WMA. Anything that's in the floodplain is the WMA.
So the terrain down here is going to be what?
It's pretty much all river bottoms, except for maybe a few little upland areas.
When you say river bottoms, you've still got a lot of habitat for deer and turkey, or
we do. There's a lot of fields and bottoms, some hardwood bottoms, and it's a lot of marshy wetland type bottoms, and we're got a diverse array of wildlife, from one end to the other. So
now I've grown up in Middle Tennessee, and I've heard Old Hickory, but it's always been synonymous with duck hunting. But before we get to duck hunting, I want to talk about everything else people can do out here. So each unit looks like it is open, same as statewide, but there are exceptions. Can you run through some of that?
Pretty much the whole WMA is open with statewide seasons, small game hunting, big game hunting. Now during the late duck season in Unit 1, all small game hunting ceases at 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But big game is same as statewide. There's no time restrictions on it, but small game hunting during the late duck season, which that's the late duck season that starts at the last weekend of November and runs through the end of January. All small, even squirrel, rabbit, anything related
Raccoon,
to small game. Even coyote, that's under small game. So no coyote hunting in Unit 1 after 3 p.m.
Okay. Tell me about access, because if only 1,000 acres of this is accessible by land, where can you access this property?
So we have access to some of our bottoms where our headquarters are located, just north of Lebanon off Highway 231, there at the end of Canoe Branch Road.
Mm-hmm.
That's their McMillan Bottoms. There's a parking area there that you can park and access the bottoms to go and hunt. We have our Barton's Creek area. That runs off Coles Ferry there in Lebanon as well. There's another short road that cuts off of Coles Ferry. It's Berea Church Road, and then the North Denny Road, and then we have a gate right there, and there's a parking area. There's about 250 acres back in there that you can hunt. That is also where we have a dove hunt. We have a youth dove hunt, and we don't hunt it until the Saturday after the season opener of dove season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's youth only on that first Saturday, and then we'll open it up, and it's open every Wednesday and Friday through Sunday after that throughout the first segment of dove season.
Okay. And so that's all Unit 1, right?
Correct, yeah.
Now, can you access areas to deer hunt or turkey hunt by boat in the other units, or?
You can, yeah. Unit 3 has a lot of bottoms, but they're mostly accessible by boat.
Okay.
So, and our website shows the map,
Mm-hmm.
and everything in green on the map. They've done a pretty good job on getting all the boundaries fairly accurate. So as long as you're in an area where it's green, it should be legal to hunt.
Okay, good deal. So if you go on our website, tnwildlife.org, and go to maps, WMA maps, you can zoom right down to this WMA, and inside that app or inside that map, you can select where you show yourself on the map, and you can see yourself as a little blue dot. It's an easy way to identify, am I inside the boundary or not? Of course, there's always going to be signs.
And I believe the way they've got it set up, no matter where you are on that map, you can click on a location on that map and it pulls up the regulations for that spot.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah. So now let's get into the meat of the matter here, and that's duck hunting. And in Middle Tennessee, this is one of the, if you're going to go duck hunting, you know about old Hickory. So for those that don't know about it, how do you come duck hunting on Old Hickory? And I'm guessing that starts with a draw process.
Correct. So last few years it's been kind of squirrely with this COVID mess. We had to do a computer draw, but years before that we've had handheld blind drawing. So you show up on that first Saturday in August, and where we have the permanent blinds is in Unit 1 and 2, and you can either put in for one or the other. You can't put in for both drawings at the same time. Mm-hmm. Unit 2 is actually the lower end. It has less blinds, and all of them are river access only. There's no food holes or anything like that. They're all just strictly river and like slough blinds, like you pull through into like a cove, mm-hmm. and there's some blinds out there. Some of them are on the river. Unit 1 is the more popular. It has 80. It had 88 blinds, but we have added one in 2 years ago, and we have 89 blinds that you can draw for in Unit 1. About 28 of those are in a food hole or an area that we actually flood, some type of a crop, mm-hmm. for duck hunting. We usually plant corn, milo, and millet. Usually we try to get the row crops in first, depending on weather. A lot of these ponds, we have to drain them, and we have to break ground and get them to air out and dry out before we can actually put a row crop in, because it's basically trying to grow crops in a swamp.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. You do face some challenges out here when it comes to planting, because you may not be able to see it, but that tree line is the river.
The height of the river and weather greatly impacts the outcome of the crop. Mm-hmm. So we're dealing with wet spots, and a lot of those areas, they just stay saturated, and we try our best to either go through them or go around them as best we can. Later on, we can go back in and throw some millet in some of those wetter areas, which that's the normal practice every year. Mm-hmm. So some of the spots in some of these ponds, depending on the height of the river, the bottom of where we're planting this corn is actually lower than the height of the river. Mm. So, and then it's so close to the river that you get a lot of water coming up from the ground. Yeah. Because there's just some areas, even when it's drought conditions. I mean, there's areas of the fields we can go through, and it's a dust bowl, and you hit that, it's just wet, and we can get tractors stuck. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, it's a challenge every year. To do everything right as far as getting the herbicides and the fertilizers, because you have to do it in different sections, and depending on the weather and the changes, that presents a pretty good challenge for us to produce a decent crop every year on Old Hickory.
If you didn't get drawn for a blind, does that mean you can't come hunt Old Hickory, or is there still opportunity?
We still have opportunity. Now in Unit 1, we have some temporary sites, but none of them are in the food holes, of course. Mm-hmm. But there are some that are fairly decent, that you can pull up to, and they're marked with a stake and a letter. Mm-hmm. And those are temporary. Now, if someone draws a blind and it was marked a rebuild, and they don't rebuild it by the 4th weekend of October, we'll go around and look at all those that were marked as rebuilds, and if they're not rebuilt, then those blinds will also be put down as a temporary, and we usually post those on our website.
Okay. When it comes to the drawing was held and I didn't get a blind, but I want to hunt out of a blind, what's the rule on that?
It's one person that draws a blind, and of course they're not going to, most normal people who, not going to be in that blind all 60 days. So there's opportunities for people to go in and hop, they hop a blind. So the rule on that is if a person who has a permit for that particular blind is not in that particular blind by shooting light, so that's 30 minutes before sunrise, then that blind becomes open and you can go in and hunt to it. Now, if that blind permit comes at like 8 o'clock in the morning and somebody's in their blind, they can't kick those people out.
Okay. All right. So there is opportunity, and are the blinds usually occupied all 60 days every year, or are there open blinds a lot of times?
Especially during the week, Monday through Friday, we have quite a few blinds that people won't be in during the week. Now on the weekend, most of the more popular blinds, somebody's going to be in pretty much every day.
Right. So, and the other thing I was going to ask about the blinds is those are not in areas where you can wade to them generally, or are there some that you could wade to, or do everybody
most of the
use
ponds you can wade parts of it, but we have ditches out there, and some of the ditches, if you step off in there, you're going to fill your waders up.
Yeah.
And then there's some ponds that's deep enough, you step off in the ditch, you're going to float your hat. So,
yeah.
So yeah, it is recommended that you do have a canoe, kayak, or small blind boat to have available for those blinds.
So, how is this season looking from your standpoint? I mean, you've got the food in.
I tell the people the same thing every year. We set the table, and then it's just all according to the weather that what pushes ducks down.
Yeah.
So, and typically the last few years we've been holding more ducks later in the season versus early season. Usually after Christmas, first of the year, is usually our peak time, and we start holding a lot more ducks then later in the season. And here the past few years we've been holding ducks all the way up to the end of February, because we don't drain any of our ponds till about the 1st of March. Just to give, because ducks are starting to migrate back north at that time, so we hold the water as long as we can just for those ducks migrating back north.
And I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but Unit 3, Unit 1, and Unit 2, that's the way the area is laid out.
Right, yeah.
Unit 3 does have opportunity to run a boat up there and throw decoys out.
Right, so there's no permanent blinds, there's no stake positions. It's just, you just kind of find you a spot and you can put out some decoys. You can't put any kind of permanent blind structure there. All your decoys have to be pulled in at the end of every hunt. There's no time restrictions in Unit 3, and that goes for Unit 2 as well. There's no time restriction. You can hunt 30 minutes before sunrise to sunset in Unit 2, and that's the same hunting restriction, or the same hunting times in Unit 3.
But Unit 1, it's 3 p.m.?
3 p.m., yep.
Okay.
All small game in Unit 1 ceases at 3 p.m., including waterfowl, anything small game.
Okay. And I guess, what else can you tell me about this WMA that I'm not asking? I mean,
okay, so on our Lock 5 Refuge, so there are deer hunting, that's another area that you can pull up and drive, or pull up, drive to, park, and get out and walk in and hunt. It's open for small game and big game. It does close from November 15th through the end of February.
Okay.
So
that's the
it
Lock
does
5 Refuge.
Lock 5 Refuge, and it's split up into two sections. There's the north side, that's Trousdale County, and anybody can go in there and hunt up until that November 15th time period.
But that's what, about a 900-acre area?
It is, yeah. It's a lot of open cropland. We have a sharecropper that plants a lot of that area, but there is some timber in there to do like some squirrel hunting if you wanted to go in and squirrel hunt. There's a lot of deer and turkey in there. There is no waterfowl hunting, in the refuge.
Okay.
You can, like the early wood duck and goose season, you can hunt the early seasons on the river channel, but not in the refuge part of it. And then on the south side, which is the Wilson County side, that was closed pretty much all public access except for a few youth hunts for deer and turkey.
Okay.
And those are usually Saturday, Sunday hunts. Up until, I think this last weekend was the last weekend that it's open for youth hunting.
Okay. And the last thing I want to ask you is, how do I know which unit I'm in? Now, I know the dam to the 109 bridge, but once we start in the guide, it starts talking about river markers, river miles. And so are there land features that I can kind of identify upriver that will tell me where I am?
Yes, so like you said, Unit 2 is from Old Hickory Dam up to the 109 bridge, and then from 109, the majority of Unit 1 is between the 109 bridge and the 231 bridge, but it does go a little bit upstream past 231 bridge up until river mile marker 267.
Okay, and then
that's you're getting into Unit 3.
That's Old Hickory Wildlife Management Area. If you want to look at the regulations, go to our hunting guide, and you can read all about it. If you need to see it on a map, be sure and go to our website and go to WMA Maps and check it out there. Other than that, if you feel like you want to come out and check it out, head out to Unit 1, walk in, do a little hunting. Michael, thank you for coming out and doing this.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
I think this is helpful for a lot of people that may not be familiar with one of these WMAs.